Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Ringside Rundown podcast. My name is Eric Vasquez, and joining me on the line is my podcasting partner in crime. Yes, that rhymes. Coming straight from the Berg, she is this week's pay-per-view predictions champion.
It's
The
back.
the pride of Punxsutawney
Yeah,
is
no.
back in her possession. She is Shay Hickson. Shay, I'll let you gloat. I'll let you take the floor.
See, you know what? I'm just glad because, all right, so for full transparency, I didn't end up watching Double or Nothing live, which is obviously what we're talking about today. I didn't get to watch it live because mom and I were having our like joint birthday party on Sunday, so most of my friends aren't wrestling fans, and even the ones that are don't really watch AEW, so we're like, we'll just watch it the next day, whatever. So I get your text and you're like, "Up, holy shit, I got the point, the extra point." And I'm like, "How?" Like literally how, but whatever. And then I already knew I was done for because we had picked literally the same for everything. So I'm like,
Yeah.
"Son of a bitch." I'm like, "Again, I just miss it by one goddamn tiebreaker, whatever." So I go back to actually watch the show, so I knew what we were talking about today. And I remember asking you before the show even started, I said, "Hey, what are the tiebreakers again?" Because I forgot. And you had said, and I have the receipts, and you won't even argue. You said that you said Jamie, or I said Jamie was going to get hit two haterades, and you said Mercedes was going to hit two. What are they called? Like statement makers or whatever it's
Yeah.
called now. I don't know what they're called. And so for whatever reason, my brain didn't really register that when I was watching it because
Hmm.
I thought you had said that Jamie was going to hit the two haterades, and I said Mercedes was going to hit the two bank statements. We're just calling
Right.
them that. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, what the fuck was Eric looking at? Because Jamie didn't hit a single haterade in that entire match. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. I got to like go back and look at this. And so I went back in the messages and saw what you said. And I'm like, I feel like I'm losing my mind. I'm like,
Yeah.
I never picked Jamie to do anything. You did. And I'm like, all right, we got to go back. So I reviewed the footage. I went back and watched our predictions episode. And sure enough, you said, I predict Jamie's going to hit two haterades. And I'm like, fine, then I'll predict Mercedes is going to hit two bank statements. And you at first thought there was going to be some collusion because that's what you told me. Because I'm like,
I instantly always think collusion. I always it's my default. I instantly think
you thought it
collusion.
was
I think
cheating.
something's up. Yeah.
You thought I was trying to like
No,
confuse you where I'm like
I fully admit this was a case of old age hitting Eric
it
in the face.
was
Uh
it was just funny to me because I fully called you on your cell phone and said, "You do realize you picked Jamie to do that, right?" And you're like, "Now wait a minute. I got my notes here. Let me just pull them up." And then there was just this pause on the other end of the line and you're like, "Ah, fuck, I did say Jamie, didn't I?" And so I'm like, "It's back. The title's
it,
back where it belongs,
it
guys.
it
Back with
literally
me."
says my name next to two haterades.
Uh-huh. So I'm like, well, guess the title's back in Pittsburgh where it belongs. So
Oh, whatever, whatever. You can have it for this week because next week we're gonna have to do our Money in the Bank predictions, and that's where I regain the title back,
yeah,
and
we'll
it'll
see about
be
that.
once again in my possession. So I'll let you have it for the week. I'll let you gloat. I'll let you have this win on the sake of it's just old age just hitting me in the face, and I had a dyslexia moment. That's all.
It was my birthday present from you
There
to
you go.
me. Was the
There you
title?
go.
Uh,
Gifted, gift wrapped, all for you.
I'll take it with me tomorrow for my actual birthday. I'll take it into work. They'll be all impressed.
That's right. That's
Maybe
right.
they'll let
It's
me
your.
leave early. They won't, but I can
they
try.
never they never let the champ leave early.
No, they should, but oh well,
No.
it's fine. But it's
Well,
back where it belongs.
for how long we don't know, because next week we have to do our predictions for Money in the Bank, and I'm sure I'm gonna get it back. But
Uh-huh.
today, ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be talking about the AEW pay-per-view Double or Nothing that happened this past Sunday. Um, man,
And this is
what
where it
a
gets not as fun.
yeah, what a show. I gotta say, for me, just going through the list of the matches because we're only going to cover the main card, and just going over the list of the matches, a lot of this card doesn't feel pay-per-view worthy. I mean,
Again.
yeah, Monet versus Jamie Hayter, which opened the show, definitely a pay-per-view worthy match.
Yeah.
FTR, Garcia, and
No.
McGuinness, TV, I would put them on TV. Ricochet, Briscoe in a stretcher
Yeah.
match, put that on TV. Hurt Syndicate versus Sons of Texas, put that on TV. Okada versus Speedball Bailey, put that on TV. Tony Storm versus Mina Shirakawa, I would have put on the pay-per-view along with the Anarchy in the Arena. And then you had Don Callis family against the Paragon. I would have put that on TV. And Hangman Osprey, I would have put on pay-per-view. So really, by my count, that's only 4 pay-per-view worthy matches. I don't know how you felt.
Yeah. I had noticed online before I got to watch it that a lot of people were saying, "Oh, this was AEW's best pay-per-view they've had in a while." And I'm like, "Okay, great, finally." And then I actually watched it and I'm like, they had a couple great matches on a pay-per-view, but 3 or 4 good matches does not a great pay-per-view make.
No.
Um it wasn't terrible by any means, but just kind of like what you said, when 3/4 of your card shouldn't even be on the card because it's a pay per view and not TV, then is and that was the problem. A lot of these matches were at the very least average, some good, some better than others, but it's also just like they still cannot just get this through their head where less is more. Less is more, guys. Like
Yeah.
half the shit you didn't even need on the pay-per-view. Like take the 3 that you had mentioned and then like maybe 1 or 2 extras and there's your pay-per-view right there.
Yeah.
I get that you want to put them on the card, but by result though, you kind of just throw random shit on a pay-per-view card and it just turns a what otherwise great pay-per-view into a good pay-per-view, which is a shame because like I said, the pay-per-view overall wasn't terrible. It wasn't like, some of the most recent ones, but when you only are like, "Oh yeah, these 3 were the greatest out of that entire card," it cuz after Mercedes and Jamie opened the show, it took them a little bit to get going again because it was just like, why is this match on the card? Why is this match on the card? Why is this match on the card?
Yeah.
And yeah.
And now this is funny because looking at my ratings, only one match cracked a rating of 4 out of all the
Mm.
matches that I had rated on the show. The only match to there was only one match to crack a 4.
Yeah, I feel like I know which one that is because it might be mine too. But yeah, it's just a shame because to I guess you could say the untrained eye or to the I guess you just want to say casual wrestling fans, they'll just see it as, well, 3 of the matches were great or 4 of the matches were great, and that makes it a great pay-per-view, and it's like, not so much. I mean,
Not when you're paying $50 to watch it.
yeah, like, if it would have been $50 for those 4 matches, fine. That would have been like, okay, you definitely got your money's worth, but for the other stuff you had to deal with in between those great matches, it's like, guys, why do we keep doing this over and
Yeah.
over and over again? And also, this pay per view shouldn't have been, what, almost 5 hours long.
Yeah, it was really long. It didn't finish till about 12:30, didn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, like, thank God that I didn't have to work the next day if I would have watched it live. And thank God I had the day off so I could watch it. But it's just like, why do we keep doing this? Like, even
Crazy.
WWE's pay per views are never that long. And if it is, it's WrestleMania and that's it. But
Not
what if
even WrestleMania goes that long though.
no, well, the main event usually doesn't start at midnight,
Yeah,
like, every
that's
time.
it was crazy. Like when I completely had forgot about the Don Callis family versus Paragon match.
Me too.
So when they went into that match, I was like, "Oh my god, no! Please
You're like,
no!"
"It's not over."
Yeah, because I thought we were going into the main event. Everything was great, and then they start talking about Don Callis and the Paragon, and I'm like, "No, no, no,
You're like, "I don't
no!"
have time for this shit." Like, I
Oh
mean,
my god.
I'm glad they did put that in the middle, though, because that's what I was thinking too at first. I'm like, "Oh, they put the main event right after that. Good God, that's gonna be, like, a
The
mess."
yeah.
But, yeah, we'll get into why later, but yeah, it was just like, "Guys, you are killing your audience, especially on a Sunday." I don't give a shit that there was a holiday the next day because guess what? Some people might have still had to work or
I
had
don't
shit to
get
do.
I don't get what the strategy is to have so many matches and to completely disregard the audience when most of the audience is saying, "Hey, this is way too long. Like
Yeah.
we need to scale it back just a little bit." I don't understand. I don't know what data or what metrics they're looking at that shows the opposite of that, that the idea to have this many matches on a card or have the pay-per-view go that long was a smart idea.
Well, whoever thought that was a good idea needs fired because it's a terrible idea.
Yeah,
It's bad.
it's just we need to scale it back a little bit. I'm not saying it has to be exactly like WWE where we only get 5 matches on a pay-per-view card. I'm sure 7 would work just as well, or maybe pushing it to 8, you know,
Yeah.
but like we need to scale back the timing on this because this is just by the end of the show it's just you feel like you were in a wrestling match.
Yeah, it's like the fatigue is a real thing because, again, the fact that your main event, the biggest match on your card, was not even starting until almost midnight is not good. It's not
Yeah.
good because I don't know about you, especially the Anarchy in the Arena match. I needed a nap after that one.
Yeah, that was because that kinda lived up to the billing of what it was, and it was just like
Yes.
so much of it was going on, so much was happening just in that one match.
Yeah.
That one match, they coulda stretched it out, and they coulda took up a good portion of the pay-per-view where you didn't need as many filler matches in there. You coulda just let them run amok with this Anarchy in the Arena.
Yeah, so they still have some lessons to learn, but clearly I don't think we're going to be that actually happens anytime soon, but
Yeah.
who knows.
Well, let's talk about the show bit by bit, match by match. We're only going to cover the main card of the show because that's the only portion of the show that we were able to watch. But trust me, there's plenty on the main card to talk about. Starting it off with Mercedes Monet and Jamie Hayter in the female bracket Owen Hart tournament final. This was to determine who would go on to face the AEW Women's World Champion at All in Texas. And I gotta say, I thought this was a great match. It finally feels like Monet is stepping out of that muck of just coasting and actually trying to put on really good performances.
Yeah, that's literally what I said when I'm watching it. I'm like, I'm glad that she's finally not phoning it in because that's been her biggest complaint with Mercedes so far in AEW is when she wants to work, she's fantastic. She lives up to the hype, but 9 times out of 10, it felt like, oh, you were phoning it in because it's just very obvious that not that I'm saying that like this is beneath her, but some matches mean more to her than others. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
But this one definitely lived up to it, and to have it as the opener, it was great. It was again
Mhm.
a great match. Obviously we I would have preferred Jamie to win, but I know why they had to do it with Mercedes, blah blah blah, whatever. But
Hmm.
you could easily say that was definitely one of the like match of the year for the women, and hell, you could even probably say it was like one of the matches of the year. Period. It was just that damn good.
Yeah, it was really really physical. I like the fact that it
Yeah.
was physical, and I feel like Jamie Hayter brought out something different in Mercedes Monet. I wasn't necessarily surprised with the finish and
No.
having Monet get the win. But I could say that there was a small bit of me that would have been okay with Hayter taking the win. That's why I feel like this was in
Yeah.
all a pretty good match because either way it could have went would have been satisfactory.
Yeah, like I said, I would have preferred Jamie to win, but you want the biggest match possible, and currently Tony is your biggest women's star and the champion, so I get it. It's just, I hope they don't make a mistake at All In, but we'll talk about that in a couple months. But yeah, it was. I mean, with Jamie, you're always expecting physicality. You're always
Right.
expecting hard hitting everything, and the fact that Mercedes didn't feel out of place in that match was very impressive because she could have looked completely out of her element. But no, she was super physical. The one spot I remember in particular because it just looked so bad was when Jamie was up on the top rope and Mercedes like took her legs out from under her and like the back of her head, the back of Jamie's shoulders like hit the like turnbuckle
Yeah.
really hard. I'm like, ooh, that's just it's still making me cringe a little bit just thinking about it. But yeah, these two definitely have some chemistry. It's funny how if you think about it, Mercedes seems to have a lot of chemistry with like the powerhouses in
Hmm.
AEW. Because think about it, probably her best matches up until this were with Stat. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe she likes the change in styles.
Yeah, definitely. Again, it's just that I think it was great that she finally got out of that coasting phase that she
Yeah.
was kind of in, and she actually brought something. And I really feel like All in Texas, she's gonna bring up something really, really good. I don't think she's gonna phone it in at All in Texas. I
No.
think All in Texas is gonna be her best work yet. Her and Tony had a little face to face on Dynamite last night because we were recording this on a Thursday. So we are Dynamite last night. Her and Tony Storm had a little face to face that ended in like a dance off, I guess you could
Yeah.
say. It was Tony Storm is just a straight up character.
She
She is
is.
just a straight up character. You never know what she's gonna say. She's always gonna catch you off guard. I feel like this match is going to be the crown match of the show. It might not be the main event, but it's definitely going to be on close to the main event of All in Texas.
Oh yeah. I mean, hey, if they try hard enough, I mean, they could be the main event, but I think we kind of already know what it's going to be at this rate. But yeah, it was like Mercedes said, let's go and have the greatest women's match of all time. And it's like, you know what? I feel like they could probably do it. I
They
wouldn't
could
be
pull it
surprised.
off. Yeah, they can definitely pull it off, and it'll be a sight to see for sure. All in Texas is definitely shaping up to be something special. 44 days away from All in Texas. But back to AEW Double or Nothing. This is like what you said. You said after the opening match, it just kind of fell into like a lull
Yeah.
of matches that probably would have been better suited on a Dynamite or a Collision. There was a big stretch of those matches. We had FTR take on Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness. I'm always a fan. Oh, by the way, I forgot to give the rating for the Monet
Oh,
and Hater match. I
oops.
gave it 3 3/4 flames.
Well, starting off already, 3 3/4 flames.
3 3/4 flames. There you go. So back to that tag match: FTR versus Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness. I always love to watch Nigel McGuinness matches, so I'm never gonna be objecting to that. I just didn't really vibe with this match on a pay per view sense, and I hated the finish. I hate like we're relying so much on the pass out finishes to
Yeah.
end with submissions. It's getting overdone.
Yeah, and my thing is too, that match got was way too long.
Yeah,
Way too
it
long.
was very long.
Because it's just like you're just sitting there going, "Are we fucking done yet?" Like there's some matches where you're like, "Oh yeah, I definitely want more. This is like great. This is not one of those." Because it's just I
Yeah.
mean, the chemistry wasn't bad. It was pretty good. I mean, as good as it could be. It was just yeah. I just again that whole passing out thing. I just sat there and went, "Are we really gonna do this again?" And they were because it's just like they kind of are making a mockery of it almost.
Yeah.
And it used to be like a legit thing, but the problem is when it's AEW, it's just like, oh, there's another one again, like big
Yeah.
whoop. Like when WWE uses it, it's a big deal because it's so sparingly. They like I can't even remember. I feel like I think they might have used it recently, but
Like I think maybe with like a punk finish, like a
yeah,
punk Drew, maybe not. I don't know.
yeah, I think that might have been the SummerSlam match maybe or the Hell in a Cell. But either way, it was just like that's a big deal. That's like because it's like oh shit, that doesn't happen often with
Right.
AEW. It's like every fifth match that it
Yeah.
happens, and it's
It
just like
happened last night during Dynamite.
yeah, it's just like you guys really love that crutch and broken ankle, don't you? Because yeah, it's a cop out at this point. Let's just call it what it is. It's a cop out.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably would have enjoyed this match a little bit more if it was used as a filler match later on in the evening, but kind of opening the show, you're kind of especially after Monet and Hayter had a pretty
Yeah,
good match,
good
you
luck with
kind of
that.
yeah, you want to keep those vibes high, and I just felt like it kind of it missed the mark. It just felt like maybe this could have been something that would have been big on Collision, so like main
Yeah,
event Collision.
yeah, it's almost as if it shouldn't have been on the card, which we're
Yeah.
gonna probably say that a few more times.
Oh
But
yeah,
yeah,
for
it
sure, for
just
sure,
stuck out like a sore thumb.
for sure. I gave it 3.5 flames out of 5. What about you?
I gave it 3. Like I said,
Nice.
just the length just killed me.
Yeah, it did run a little long in the tooth for sure.
Yeah,
And then next up we had after that one we had in a stretch. It was a stretcher match but it felt like they should have just called it an ambulance match.
Yeah.
Ricochet versus Mark Briscoe, and this one had a lot of blood in it from one man only, and that was Mark Briscoe, who got cut open pretty badly and was leaking. His head looked like a tomato.
Yeah, I don't know how he didn't pass out from all that blood loss, because Jesus Christ, it was, yeah, it was, I'm glad I wasn't the only one where I'm like, "If this is a stretcher match, why is there an ambulance here?" Like, that's not
I
eh,
guess I guess it makes sense that you have to put the stretcher in the ambulance, but I mean, I would have just called it an ambulance match if like you had to close the ambulance doors to
yeah,
to win the match.
yeah,
What about Ricochet now? This is becoming a thing where like before I wasn't really buying into him being a bad guy. I just thought he was annoying, so it was more go away more
yeah,
than I don't like you as a bad guy. But he is starting to gain points from me as a bad guy. You kind of definitely want to see him get his ass kicked when he's out there by anybody.
yeah.
What about you? How do you feel about Ricochet and his current phase of being a villain for AEW?
He's definitely coming into it finally, because like you had mentioned earlier, it was like every time he was on TV, I'm like, I don't care. I
It was like
really don't care.
apathy.
Yeah, it was just like, I mean, I guess you're trying, but it's just not doing anything for me. But now that he's kind of, I said, come into the whole like smug, cocky, like asshole. Now it's just like, oh, I want to see you get your ass kicked so bad. So it's like,
Yeah.
all right, you're doing your job now. But yeah, and I mean, he definitely played it up in this match, because he had to do the scissors
The
again.
scissor spot it really freaks me out because
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of blood in the first place, and then to execute the scissor spot correctly, you really have to jab at your opponent with those scissors. You can't really fake it or pull a blame or anything like that.
no, because there's gonna be somebody online that'll pause and be like, "See, the blades were never in, like, out of
Yeah.
the hand, blah blah blah, whatever."
Yeah.
Just like something that has someone has had nothing better to do. But yeah, it's oh god, and to have someone just be like, "Yes, please, just stab me with scissors, just for the hell of it, because we got to do it for the match." It's like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
But the match itself, it was good. I mean, it wasn't terrible. Again, it was pretty average. But again, why did we have to put the? We didn't need it on a pay per view. I mean, if they absolutely needed a gimmick match for the pay per view, I could see it. Even though we already had the mother of all gimmick matches later on in the night, but yeah, it wasn't offensive. It was all right.
Yeah, I ended up giving this one 3 3/4 flames out of 5. Like you said, it wasn't terrible. I probably would have saved it to spike a TV rating. I probably would have done better on TV, but what the hell do I know? You know, it was on
Yeah.
the pay-per-view, it was there to watch.
Yeah, what do we know? We just sit here and talk into a microphone, so it's fine. I gave it 3.5.
Okay, so we're still pretty close. We're still pretty neck and neck when it comes to our rating. So it's
Nothing
good to
new.
see. Yeah, it's good to see we're still on the same page. This is why we have the best wrestling podcast on the net because we're so in sync with each
Yeah,
other.
yeah, we're just that good. What can we say?
Yeah. Speaking of maybe that good, maybe not. I don't think it was. The Hurt Syndicate taking on Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. This was definitely a match that did not deserve to be on pay-per-view. I would have definitely put this on TV. I don't even know if I would have put this on the main event. Like, I'm sorry, it's just like I I I I can appreciate and respect everything that Dustin Rhodes has done in his professional wrestling career, but I don't need to see him in 2025.
I mean, we don't
I,
need to say Sammy Guevara either, but
oh,
anyway, go on.
no, I'm just saying, like, I just like every time, you know, something happens with Dustin Rhodes, I mean, can he get it done in the ring? Sure, but does he need to?
No,
I don't know.
it. I just feel bad for the Hurt Syndicate, because I feel like we say this every time they have a pay per view title defense. The chemistry between these two teams was non existent.
Uh huh.
It was not. I mean, it started off fine, but then it got really messy and got really sloppy, and I'm like, these guys can't catch a fucking break. They really can't, because they honestly, at least for the pay-per-view title defenses, they have yet to have a very good match where it's like, oh, finally, this is what they deserve. This is great match. They just keep putting them with, I don't want to say shit teams, but just like these terrible choices. Because again, they have yet to have a very great like tag team match.
Yeah.
And at this point, if this is what you're going to do with them, just have them squash people. Like that's more a better use of their time than trying to drag out these sloppy ass matches. And it's not even, I don't know, I guess you can't blame either team, but again, it's just like kind of a shame that we've said this for the past what 3 pay-per-views by now where it's like god damn the Hurt Syndicate deserves better than this cuz it's just like very shit luck.
Yeah, and I hope they can figure it out because they in terms of TV, the Hurt Syndicate and the whole situation with MJF has really been entertaining. But now MJF is, I guess, for all intent and purposes, a part of the Hurt Syndicate. So that whole anticipation of will they or won't they let him in the group, now that has gone away with them now
Yeah.
letting him in the group. So now they need to capitalize and make sure they can keep that momentum of being wanted to see on TV with segments with MJF, which kind of are danger, like certain segments with MJF. If you look back in history, like his whole phase with Jericho,
Yeah.
and then the whole "better than you, baby" thing, those backstage segments, for some reason, like they become overacted
Yeah.
and very campy and very cheesy. And that's not what the Hurt Syndicate is. The Hurt Syndicate is probably one of the coolest acts on AEW TV. That's why I feel like I enjoy most of their TV segments. I'm just wondering if they can keep up that momentum now that MJF is in the Hurt Syndicate and not chasing the Hurt Syndicate.
Yeah, and I kind of hope they just don't really fall into like the better than you baby trap of just humor because
Right.
that's not like you said that's not what they are. They're murder machines essentially. So it's like you just need to let them do their thing and I kind of hope they do, but we've seen where this has gone before and maybe we won't listen to the fans if they try to say otherwise, but yeah, the match itself, I had to give it 2 3/4.
Ooh.
It was just painful.
Ooh. I was generous on this one. I gave it
Yeah.
3.5.
All right, you're nicer than I would have been, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
was I was generous. Like I said, I usually when I grade these matches, I start from a 3 and then I either go down or up. None of them I had to go down, but I didn't go up for a lot of them. It was just kind of middle of the road stuff there. Nothing
yeah,
to really knock my socks off when it came to this pay-per-view.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So I gave it 3.5. And then moving on for the Continental Championship, which kind of gets defended often and kind of not. We had Kazuchika Okada defending the title against Speedball Mike Bailey. A fun match, but I don't know if I would have put this on pay per view. I'm on the fence. There's some points where I say, yeah, I would have put it on pay per view because it's Okada and you kind of want to put Okada on pay per view, but then there's parts of me that it's like, I would have maybe had this on Dynamite or Collision.
Yeah, the match itself was pretty good. It wasn't anything like to write home about or anything, and like I think the reason why it's kind of like, should this have been on the pay per view or should it not have been? Is that it took so long for it to be good that it was just like why is this taking so long? You're expecting us to go into another gear. And it was just like waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And it's just like, God damn, like, guys, come on. Like, we don't have all night. I mean, clearly they did. They had all night. We didn't have all night. But, yeah, and the crowd really wasn't into it at all either, which was kind of sad. But, yeah, it also just seemed like the timing on certain things was really off. Like, what was taking Speedball so long to like do the shooting star presses? What was the problem we were having here? Because it was just like, dude, get on with it already. Like, I mean, granted, that's what set the finish up, which is fine, but it was just like, why is this like standing in quicksand or something? But yeah, like I said, it was good once it got good, but getting there was like a little time consuming.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on all those points there. I gave the match, I was generous with this one as well. Again, I'm enjoying Speedball's work in AEW. I think I think once they can move on from this whole Death Rider situation
Yeah.
and maybe drum up some new interest with the world title, because right now for me as a fan there's no interest in the world title. I mean, maybe now because of All In and the promo that Hangman gave last night on Dynamite, maybe there's a little bit, but this is probably the most that I've been interested in the world title picture in a very long time. I'm thinking when there's new blood and there's fresh perspectives and angles on the world title, it might be a good time to move up Speedball Mike Bailey and see if he can hang in the main event scene or in the upper echelon of the card. We don't know, but he does put on those good performances, and he is a great tag partner when they have those multi-person matches like they had last night on Dynamite.
Yeah, I agree. It's just a give him something else. We
Yeah,
we just give him a change of scenery. Maybe that'll help. But I feel
but
like, but Okada's kind of the same too, where it's just like it's kind of spinning his wheels a little bit
right,
because I kind of noticed after because I kind of like went back and looked a little bit, and it's kind of like a unfortunate recurring theme for him is that it doesn't seem like crowds are ever really into his matches, and I don't know if it's just like placement maybe, but the fact that it happens pretty often is not great.
yeah,
I feel like maybe the hardcore fans are kind of waiting for like the New Japan Okada, and it's like I get that they're trying to let him show his personality a little more in AEW, but it's also like okay, he can lock in at any minute now because we got the whole bitch thing, we got the whole like middle finger thing. It's just like we kind of want to see the Rainmaker and what brought him there in the first place, not
right,
a glorified comedy kind of act. But
right.
I don't know what do we know? We're just sitting here.
I think for me it's like the entrance is very grandiose and it's very big and it makes Okada seem like a big deal, which he is a big deal. But
Yeah,
it's like you say, I feel like hardcore fans are waiting to see a glimpse of that New Japan Okada, and only Okada can choose to bring that out because he could have looked at this opportunity to come to America and wrestle in AEW and maybe could have seen it as a way to coast because in
yeah,
Japan, to wrestle the style that Okada was wrestling in Japan, you have to sacrifice a lot of physical aspects of your body and things like that.
yeah,
So maybe when he came to America, he was thinking, working a lighter, definite, lighter damage work here in AEW, and maybe
yeah,
that's what's happening. Hopefully, maybe if they're setting up to maybe some sort of Okada Omega situation to go for All in Texas, that we can get a glimpse, which I think we can, of that New Japan stuff, because what other gear does Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada have but to
yeah,
go to that gear? I don't think they would be able to hone it back. They would have to take it into that fifth gear like they did in Japan all those times, and do something special for AEW, because AEW definitely needs it. Because again, this is not a situation where there's going to be like 75,000 people in the arena. I don't think they have the setup for that many people. I
yeah.
think it's going to be scaled back a little bit. It's still going to be a massive amount of people and a huge show for AEW, but to give it that big fight feel, we need to have that Okada Omega match like it's New Japan in the late 2000s.
We can only hope
Yeah.
because how much more patience do people have?
Yeah, definitely for sure. But for this match, like I said, I was generous. I gave it 3 3/4 flames out of 5. What about you?
Gave it 3 1/4 flames.
3 1/4. So you're a little stiff tonight. You're a little
Yeah,
stiff.
yeah, I can't help it.
Yeah.
One of us
Well,
has to be.
this next match I definitely believed belonged on the pay-per-view only because the champ was involved, and I'm talking about the AEW Women's Champion Toni Storm. She defended the title against Mina Shirakawa, who is now a full-fledged member of the AEW roster, and she starts off her tenure as a full-fledged member getting a title opportunity against Toni Storm. Toni Storm can I don't think she can have a bad match.
No.
I think the crowd loves her so much that the crowd are always involved in her matches and they're always watching with a lot of attention. They
Yeah.
don't deviate away from the matches.
Yeah, and that's no slight on Mina either, because she's a great wrestler, and I'm glad that she's now finally able to do more than just, be the character Mina. She's great in the ring. I think that's what a lot of people see first is the character, the persona of Mina Shirakawa, but she can go in the ring, and I'm glad that hopefully now she'll be able to do that a little bit more and not have to focus so much on like the persona aspect. She has that down. Like there's no you don't need to like have her work on anything. She's great the way she is. And this match was really good, and it made Tony that gutsy underdog again because she's pretty much working with one leg. And
Yeah,
some of the stuff Mina was pulling out, I'm like, damn, I don't remember her pulling that out before, and
yeah,
it was good. I really liked it. I agree it should have been on the pay per view. I don't know what they're gonna do now though with Mina because I feel like they kind of have that really weird habit because they literally just did this with Megan Bain, where it's like you come in and you immediately get a shot. You do inevitably lose because you're not taking the title off of Tony anytime soon. And then it's like, now what? Like, why do they do this all the time is beyond me. But I feel like with Mina, it's not going to be as big of a deal because she's just so popular that people are going to love what she's doing anyway. But it's kind of a shame that that's like the first thing that had to happen to her was that she had to essentially lose like the first big match of her AEW career. But I'm sure it won't be the last. But sadly, my Mariah did not show up. We were
I was
correct.
just gonna say, yeah, I was just gonna say nothing of Mariah.
Yeah, it
Uh,
made me sad.
um, I was waiting to
Me
see if
too.
maybe, maybe she would show up.
Once they kissed, I'm like, oh, Mariah's gonna be pissed about this. She's got to show up, and then nothing. I'm like, oh, okay, well, never mind.
So what are the chances Mariah may be jumping ship? Do you think they're more than likely?
I mean, I feel like, I mean, granted, you don't want her to immediately go right back in with Tony and Mina, but also at the same time, that would have been the prime opportunity to do it. So unless they're gonna like surprise us and throw her in with somebody that has nothing to do with either of them, then maybe. But I don't know. I mean, the longer she's been, well, I mean, she was on vacation, which lucky her. But I feel like the longer and longer she's out on TV, the more and more I'm inclined to think that yeah, I think we'll be seeing her wrestle somewhere else. It's just not going to be with AEW.
And now, do you think it's going to have a significant impact on the landscape of professional wrestling to have her jump ship?
Um, I mean, yes and no. For the women, yeah, it would be a pretty big deal because I'm trying to think if we really had. Because, I mean, obviously from AEW to WWE, Cody was the biggest one. Like, that
Right.
was pretty big. But I feel like I'm trying to think, unless I'm fully forgetting somebody, I think Mariah would be like the first big woman's name to jump ship from AEW to
Oh yeah.
WWE. And I feel like I'm silly if I'm forgetting somebody, but I really don't think I am.
On the women's side, no.
Yeah, so for her to be the first big one, because I feel like it seemed like the general consensus from what I was seeing online was that this was like her, not going to say a tryout, but it was almost just like her audition for WWE in a way,
Mm,
because I feel like she's always wanted to go to WWE, at least again, according to from what I've seen and whatnot.
yeah, yeah.
So kind of felt like, hey, I got to put my best for AEW, and then if I they get priced out because I'm just that good, which she is. It's like it's not it's not really that hard to argue that she's one of the better women's wrestlers today.
Yeah,
And
and she has a look that
yes.
like kind of feels like like she needs to be on more television screens, more computer screens,
Yeah.
and she needs more of a global reach that AEW just doesn't have yet.
Yeah, and I feel like looking back the whole again, we always say the whole hindsight 2020 is a thing. Maybe this would explain why her title reign was so weird because
Mm.
we were sitting there going, this is going to be a great reign. She's going to have it for a while. Like no one's going to like beat her for this for quite a while. And at this rate, I don't know who's going to because it can't be Tony. And then they put her in these very odd beginning feuds. Like I still will never understand why her first big challenger was Anna Jay. Like I'm sorry, but that was just weird. And then you have Tony come back, and it's like, okay, well, I mean, have Mariah actually beat her again fair and square, and then it's like legit, like, oh, you're really here to play because you put Tony away again, and then you just have her lose it again. Like, it just didn't. it just seemed weird at the time, and now looking back on it, maybe they kind of already knew she was out the door, but
Mm,
I feel like that shouldn't have mattered, and you shouldn't play petty like that, but we know what Tony Khan is sometimes, and he is very petty sometimes, so I wouldn't have put it past him, but, yeah, I think she just, like, bet on herself, clearly, and I think it's gonna pay off for her in the long run, but, yeah, it's kind of a shame that it's just that's how things kind of had to end. I mean, obviously, the very last match with Tony and Mariah was fantastic. The Hollywood ending was great, probably one of my favorite matches of the year.
hmm.
But it's just kind of a shame that nothing's not going to come of it. But there's going to be no okay, what's next? It's
Right.
just she's gone.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as far as the match, the Tony Storm versus Mina Shirakawa, with Tony Storm winning and retaining the AEW Women's World Championship, I gave the match 3.5 flames out of 5. What about you?
And I gave it 3.5 flames. So now we're back.
There you go. We're back on the same page.
Yeah.
Coming up for the next match, definitely one that lived up to the bill and lived up to being on pay per view. We had the Anarchy in the Arena match where Kenny Omega teamed with Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, Katsuyori Shibata, Swerve Strickland, and Willow Nightingale to take on the Death Riders and the Young Bucks in Anarchy in the Arena. And I mean, if anything, the match lived up to what it was called because it was definitely Anarchy in the Arena.
Yeah, it was somebody with ADHD's worst nightmare.
Yeah,
Is what it
oh
was.
my god, I was just like
You
at
were
one
going through
point,
it.
yeah, at one point I was just like, this is so much overload. Please stop playing the body song. I've heard it like 8 times already.
That was good
Please.
at for a little bit, but then when I'm like, "Oh, why is it still going? Please stop." Like it was good the
uh
first 3 times, but
Yeah, like that's
then
what I said. If they would have just looped it 3 times and then stopped, we would have been good. But they looped it like 10 times and it was just like, oh my god, the
it,
sensory overload is crazy right now.
yeah, it's just funny that you and I said the same thing. It definitely lived up to Anarchy in the Arena because my god, it had to have everything. You had Samoa Joe being MIA for the entrances, and I'm like, what the hell's up with that? That's weird. Then you have the fucking Young Bucks coming out as the founding fathers, and they're like George Washington get up, and I'm like, what is fucking happening right now? Like, what is going on? And it just it had thumbtacks in the mouth, it had thumbtacks on the shoes, it had poor Willow getting chained to the ring post by her
Oh
ear.
my god, that was disgusting.
And I'm like, can someone go help her instead of just having her sit there? I mean, hell, even the crowd started chanting to have someone help Willow, and it was just it was so much, and I'll say it was entertaining because I feel like these kind of matches you don't really base off of wrestling prowess because if you could and if you would, it wouldn't be a great match. It would just be it was all gimmicks this, gimmicks that, which is like, yeah, that's kind of the point of it. So you kind of have to look at it as more of a were you entertained in this match? And I would say I was,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
though like I said, I'm just like I don't know what the hell to focus on because they have 5 different camera angles, and just when you think they're going to show something with somebody else, they cut to somewhere else, and it's just like, okay, well, it would have been nice to see that actually happen instead of imagining it happening or whatever. But yeah, it was just chaos.
And
And
at
then
one point, somebody who wasn't even involved in the match, and Mark Briscoe got involved in the match, and then
yeah,
you had like Gabe Kidd come out, and then
Hook.
and then the whole Hook situation. What is that about?
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know. Mom thought like, oh well, maybe he's mad because he was replaced because he got hurt, and I'm
That's
just
what I
like,
was thinking.
but I'm just like, that's such a low bowl, like low blow kind of like, really, that's the explanation you're gonna have kind of thing? Because it's just like, well, what the hell were you supposed to do? Just sit there with your concussion and do nothing. It
Yeah,
was, yeah,
that's the only angle I can come up with is that he's kind of look at it like he was replaced by Powerhouse Hobbs.
yeah. Which I mean, to be fair, it's not even a comparison at that point. That's a little not fair, but yeah, they were just there were some things that were great. Like I said, Swerve with the shoes, the table that exploded for some reason at the end
Yeah, I remember
that
that.
wasn't
Yeah,
even the end of the match, which I'm just like, Jesus, how is that not the end of the match? But then The thing that I don't know why this like I keep thinking of this when Willow and Marina went outside by the trucks. I'm like, why is there just a frying pan just there?
Yeah, a random, really nice. And see, the old person in me is like, man, that's a really nice frying pan.
And that was a
Yeah,
waste of a frying pan.
yeah, and
Yeah, and the thing I hate the most though is that, and I don't know if you noticed this too, especially when Marina took control of the frying pan, which is such a weird sentence to say, but when she took control of the frying pan, you could tell she was kind of holding back a little bit. It's like just haul off and whack her with that because when you pull up, it's very obvious.
yeah.
It's
I
like
think
just
she's
hair.
maybe, yeah, I think she's afraid of her own strength. I
I
think that's what
guess,
it is.
but Willow would take it. I mean, for fuck's sake, Willow was spearing everything with a pulse at one point. I don't think she was going to care about a frying pan to the
Yeah,
back. It's
I did like that they didn't shy away from the intergender aspect of everything. Like,
yeah.
this is chaos. Like, it's just complete madness. So
Yeah.
why not just let everybody scrap with everybody?
Yeah, which is like that it would have been such a sore thumb. Like it would have just stuck out so badly if it's like, okay, you really have it like you see a perfect window for them to interact with somebody and then they kind of like skirt away from it. So it's like I feel like it would have done more harm than good trying to like and I mean, let's be honest, with the chaos in this match anyway, there's no way you could have mapped out that well, we have all five of these things going on at the same time, but we can't have Willow or Marina touch anybody else except each other. It's just like it would have made no sense. It would have been
Yeah.
like a little too planned, a little too obvious. So I'm glad that they just let them go out with reckless abandon because that's the point of this whole kind of match. But yeah, and the staple gun, the
Oh yeah, the
staple.
staple gun.
You know, the funny thing was though, Mom was trying to give Swerve the benefit of the doubt, and she's like, "Well, maybe it was empty because you can still make the noise." And I'm like, Swerve has stapled himself before. Do you really
Yeah.
think he was going to be like, "I don't want it in my tongue"? And then you saw it, and I'm like, "Yep, there it is, just stuck there
Ugh.
like a piercing." And I'm just like, these guys are fucking psychotic. Like,
Oh my god. Well, I gotta say, I gave this match 4 out of 5 flames, and I gave it 4 basically because it was anarchy in the arena and it was actual anarchy in the arena. Like, you couldn't have
yeah,
predicted a better way, you couldn't have pictured it a more perfect way. This was anarchy in the arena.
yeah, I would have given it 4, but I think just for the sheer like chaos of it all, I just found it very hard to like pay attention sometimes because there was just so much shit going on at once. So I gave it 3 3/4, but it was still very entertaining. Not the match of the year, obviously, for wrestling purposes, but God was it a lot.
It was definitely a lot, but the show did not conclude there. Here I am thinking the main event was coming, but oh no, 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 no. We still had one more match before the main event. It was a 6-man tag match. The Don Callis family taking on Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly of Paragon. Uh, if there is any clear cut definition of a match that should have been on TV, it is this one. And
Yeah.
it's sad to say because, man, Adam Cole could be the world champion of any company he's in. He could definitely be the champion of AEW and make it a big deal.
Yeah, which is a shame because he was so non-existent in this match. It was just weird. It was just like even if he wasn't in that match, you wouldn't have noticed. And it's like he's the champion. He's the TNT champion. Is this belt like cursed or something? Because I feel like the last few people that have had it are kind of just like I don't know, not fade into obscurity, but it's just like god damn, like you do realize it's Adam Cole with the belt, right? Like you do know it's one of the best wrestlers on the planet, but okay, apparently not. But yeah, this one had no luck whatsoever having to follow the chaos that was anarchy in the arena.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely stuck out.
Yeah, and I mean the crowd got into it like later in the match, but it was just uh I feel like I almost can barely remember any of it besides the fact that Adam was just kind of invisible because I was still trying to like my brain was trying to catch up from all the shit we just watched beforehand. But yeah, it was just this was a special I get that you needed like a death spot match, but this didn't need to be on the show at all either. This is another one that should have been on
Yeah.
Dynamite or Collision because it's just like, what is going on? Especially since
This was
this match was the one that pushed it past midnight. So it's just like, really, was it worth it? No, it wasn't.
that's what I'm saying. There's got to be somebody there that has to advised Tony Khan, like, going past midnight is a misstep here.
Yeah, it's not a good idea, sir. Like, I don't
Like,
know.
I don't know. But I'm just perplexed by it because never would I have imagined me saying, "Yeah, we don't need an Adam Cole match on a pay per view.
I
It's
know.
it's better suited on a TV show."
That hurts to say 'cause it's
It's
true.
weird.
It is because it's just like if you would have tried saying that like 7 or 8 years ago, you would have been called the biggest idiot on wrestling Twitter or something for saying that. Now it's just like people actually would agree with you, and that's very sad because
Now,
that
let
shouldn't
me
be it.
ask you: Do you think Adam Cole and subsequently the rest of the guys maybe regret their decision not sticking around WWE?
Maybe because I feel like Adam's reasoning for it at the time was great, but all of those factors that he clearly had going for him to go to AEW are not around anymore. So, yeah, I feel like Malachi's probably sitting in WWE right now going, "Yeah, see, guys, I told you it's not the grass isn't greener on the other side." Because, yeah, it's I don't know. I think you kind of get caught up in like the allure and the luster of it, but then once that luster wears off, it's like, "Ugh, maybe this wasn't such a good idea after all."
Yeah. Well, I gave this one again for I was very generous for this match, and I gave it 3.5 flames out of 5.
I gave it 3 because it didn't really do much for me.
Understandable, understandable. And finally, we get to the main event of the evening. This is the final for the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament bracket in the men's category. We had Hangman Adam Page take on Will Ospreay, and remember, the winner of this match not only is the tournament winner, but they also get a world title opportunity at All in Texas to face John Moxley and hopefully get that title out of the briefcase. And really, I mean, what more can we say about Will Ospreay matches that we haven't said already?
Yeah, it's so crazy that it's just so common to be like, "Well, yeah, it was a fantastic match." Like, and like,
Yeah.
and what's your point? But I mean, clearly a match of the year candidate for sure. Like, not even close. Anybody who says it isn't is just like being edgy at that point because damn, that match was good. For as tired as I feel like the crowd had been because they'd been there for 5.5 days at that point. But no, the crowd was hot for it as it should have been because what do you expect? It's Hangman and Osprey, and those two have really good chemistry, like really good fucking chemistry. And it didn't even feel like this was literally the opposite of the FTR match earlier in the night where I'm like, there's just some matches where you're like, why is this going on so long? You wouldn't have known that this was like what 25 minutes long, I think.
Yes.
Maybe it was long, but it didn't feel like it because it was just so damn good to watch and just so exciting that you're like, yeah, I don't care that it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, what of it? Like, I can sleep in tomorrow. I'm off work, so it was great. And I will say I was genuinely surprised because we both said Osprey because we just thought that it was going to be the easier choice. But you know what? You got to give props to AEW and Tony Khan. They went and did the shocking thing, which is good because I mean, even if the obvious happened and Hangman won, it wouldn't have been bad. It would have been like, oh, that was the dumbest decision they could have ever done because Osprey should have done blah 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 whatever. Hangman has a really good story, and we even talked about it last week on the predictions episode, where it's like you can make a very good story out of either one of these two winning. And honestly, I feel like the Hangman one's going to be a little more compelling because obviously Osprey was almost like again everyone just expected him to win. Everyone just expected him to go beat Moxley for the title and save AEW. But why not somebody like Hangman, where it's coming from beneath, fighting from beneath, and being the underdog, as opposed to Osprey, where he was clearly not going to be the underdog in any of it. So I'm not sure what drama and stakes there really were, other than just I need to win this match. And I feel like now you can kind of build in with Hangman winning, and the Death Riders are just going to be the Death Riders. So now you can kind of like weave in, is Osprey going to be a man of his word and actually help Hangman? Is Swerve going to come back into play at some point, which you feel like he's got to? Like, that has to go full circle at some point, maybe at All In, who knows? But, I mean, that would be, don't you think that'd be kind of fitting? Like, at All In, I mean, we'll bookmark this little section and then come back to it after the show and see if we're right. But wouldn't it just be kind of like a full circle thing, having like Swerve help Hangman win the title?
Yeah, like I could see a situation Like they have 44 days till All in Texas, and they could definitely come up with a scenario where they're like, you know what if we make this match a no disqualification match? That would
Yeah.
allow some shenanigans to happen with the Death Riders and maybe the Ops and everything like that. And then the last person to come to Hangman's defense and help him would be Swerve. But
Yeah.
they could map it in a way where it looks like maybe Swerve is going to hurt Hangman, because again, they both made the pact to each other that neither man was going to let the other ever be world champion again. You
Yeah.
know, so they could definitely map it out that way to be like, is he going to help Hangman or is he going to hurt Hangman? Because he never said he was relinquishing that promise to make sure that Hangman is not ever going to be world champion again.
Well, and you have to also think too, if you remember to back into the match, Hangman used Swerve's move. He used big pressure, so I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sure Swerve's not going to like that too much. And
That's
obviously,
true. They didn't even talk about that like on this Fallout episode of Dynamite. Like they could have easily brought that up too.
yeah, because Osprey. Well, I mean, Osprey did Kenny's V trigger, so it's like, all right, so you guys are really busting out the moves, and they could have done that, but I feel like they could have made it and should have made it probably a bigger deal because then Swerve could have rightfully been like, "Why are you using my moves? Like, you don't deserve to use my moves or something." But clearly they're not going to do that, so it is what it is. But yeah, it's going to be a very, and we always say preface it with if they do it correctly because we've seen it go the other way before. But if they can do it correctly, I think this whole build up into All In is going to be cinema. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. Now this is the hard part, I think, because like I've constantly said it. I even said it last night. For me, the hardest thing is trying to get into John Moxley matches. They're
Yeah,
very slow, very plodding, very just at a turtle pace,
yeah.
and it's hard for me to get into. But I do think Hangman is a good fit for Moxley. How good do you see this match at All in Texas being?
Oh, I mean, worst part is you can't really go off of the last few title matches he's had because they've been a little pay-per-view matches. They've been a little questionable, but
Yeah.
I feel like maybe Heyman can bring out the more speedy physicality of Moxley. Will it actually happen? I'm not entirely sure, but I feel like they can have a good match. It's just Moxley kind of has to play ball with Hangman too. You kind of just can't be like, well, we're going to do this at 2 miles an hour and that's it because that's not Hangman. Hangman's like, no, we're going to go 50 miles an hour and that's it.
That's why I feel like they're gonna need some sort of gimmick attached to
Yeah.
this match.
Texas
Just
death match.
yeah, or Texas death match. I don't see why they can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Because I mean, I feel like, and it's tough because I could see the justification either way for this, where it's like, this is essentially like the battle for AEW's soul, essentially at this point. So if I feel like if it was anybody other than John Moxley, they could just make it a regular match. But I feel like if they want to make it big and grandiose and live up to the hype, you have to put a death match tag on it because I think that's when he becomes the most like alive because that's kind of his shit. So I feel like you kind of have to just for the sake of you need it to live up to this hype because if they go in there and they have a clunker on the biggest night of AEW's history, supposedly, not going to be a good look.
No, it definitely isn't. It definitely isn't. That's my one worry is again because I have such a hard time getting into John Moxley matches
Yeah.
because he just wrestles a certain style that is just so slow, and it's just like,
Yeah, it's like
dude,
speed it up a little bit.
kick it into gear. Let's see some gusto,
Yeah,
something.
anything.
Yeah, it's tough. So I'm wondering because I am a big fan of Hangman. I enjoy his matches. I think it was a good call. I don't know why Osprey tends to lose in the big time matches
Yeah,
when he should be winning. But again, it could be that grind, that they talk about, that they attach Will Osprey's name to, that he feels like maybe other people are deserving of opportunities.
maybe. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird because I feel like it's not this isn't gonna like hurt him in any way, but it's also just kind of like, okay, well, I thought it was almost an inevitability that he was gonna win the title, but I feel like at least for story wise or like big sensational wise, him beating Moxley would have been a good idea, but I feel like the redemption story is just gonna be a little more dramatic. Like I said, I feel like
Yeah.
Osprey winning, it just would have been a foregone conclusion. Like, oh yeah, he's absolutely well. Because again, even this one, oh yeah, he's beating Hangman for sure, and then he's gonna go beat Moxley. It's like, don't worry about it. So I feel like people were so, or I feel like they were putting all their eggs into his basket that they kind of didn't really see the fact that, oh well, maybe it would be better if Hangman won. And I mean, it was split. That crowd was split right down the middle, kind of like at the beginning. Jamie and Mercedes, they were both split down the middle too. So I feel like they would have couldn't have gone wrong with either one. I'm just
Mm.
excited for the possibilities of like the dramas and the twists and turns with Hangman's story as it would be with Osprey's, because I feel like it just wouldn't have been as, at least for me, I don't think it would have been as dramatic, because it just again would have been a foregone conclusion that if Osprey won that match, he was just going to win the title and that was it.
Gotcha. Yeah, definitely for sure. Now, I gave this match 3 3/4 flames out of 5. How about you?
I gave it 4.
You gave it 4. So this was
Yeah.
your 1-4 match?
Yes, it was.
Wow. And the 1-4 match I had was the Anarchy in the Arena.
Who would have thought?
Yeah. Honestly, though, even though Anarchy in the Arena got a higher rating, I would say my match of the night would be the main event, Hangman and Osprey. I think
Yeah.
that was more a match that I enjoyed. That's my type of wrestling.
Yeah, that was definitely my match of the night, followed closely by Mercedes and Jamie. It was just such a good match. So that was like 1-1-8 with me.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it was a decent show. It's just a lot of the show felt like it wasn't pay-per-view worthy. It could have been a main event on a Dynamite or Collision, and they
Yeah.
probably would have got higher ratings. That's why I'm kind of glad that they took June off and there's no June AEW pay-per-view. All of the buildup is going towards AEW All in Texas, and they can finally make some shows bigger. I mean, I don't want a 4-hour Dynamite that we're gonna have to watch on Wednesday coming up.
Yeah.
But I mean, they have some space to make some of their TV shows big time deals, and hopefully it all works out and they get good ratings for each show.
Yeah, I'm hoping, because they got a lot to live up to right now.
Yeah, they definitely do. They definitely do. But we have 44 days until AEW All in Texas. So we got a lot of time to see what they can come up with and hook us in. Because again, this is a $50 pay per view in 2025, and that's just crazy.
It's one day they'll change, but probably not.
Not anytime soon, not for the sake of my pockets.
No, unfortunately not.
Well, that is the conclusion of the main topic of our show this evening. Was the AEW Double or Nothing prediction, or not predictions, the recap and the match ratings for AEW Double or Nothing. Again, a decent show. Hopefully, AEW All in Texas lives up to the hype. But that takes us into what we're doing next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about another premium live event, that being WWE's Money in the Bank. Are you excited for Money in the Bank?
Yeah, I mean, interested to see what they're gonna do, because it's Money in the Bank's a very like, I feel like underrated pay-per-view, because it pretty much gives you a glimpse into, oh, this is probably what the landscape's gonna look like in a couple months, when depending on who wins the briefcase, of course, because it's just like it's sometimes interesting to be like, oh well, this person definitely deserves it, or oh, this one's definitely going to win it, and it turns out it's somebody completely different, and it's the drama of it all, and also the ladder matches make me very fucking nervous to watch. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this year goes, because I feel like WWE kind of is a little at least for me, a little shaky right now, because you got rid of, I don't know, half my favorites. It's we'll see how it goes.
Not only that, but there's also earlier in the evening, Worlds Collide,
Yeah.
which is the joint show between WWE and AAA, and some people from TNA I think are going to be on there, and NXT. So it's going to be a pretty big deal.
Yeah, clear your schedule.
yeah, it's gonna be a pretty big day next Saturday for Money in the Bank. But our next episode, we are gonna have predictions. So that means the title will be coming back to me
Yeah, okay.
for Money in the Bank, and then it probably won't go anywhere anytime soon because we're gonna keep it that way.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Well, all right, guys. Well, to let you know, you can get this podcast on all podcast platforms, wherever you're listening to it. Make sure you search Ringside Rundown, hit that follow button or subscribe, whatever the platform asks of you, so that way you never miss an episode of the Ringside Rundown. Like I said, it's available on all podcast platforms. Plus YouTube. If you go to youtube.com/at ringside run pod, you can get the episodes as well if you don't have a platform. If you have a certain platform and you can't find the show, just let us know on social media. Hit us up in the DMs and we will answer back with the silver platter and a link to that platform of your choosing. But make sure you give us back the silver platter because it belongs to Shay's mom, and she spent time in Japan doing deathmatch wrestling. So she's a very dangerous character. She took on the likes of Mick Foley, Terry Funk, Abdullah the Butcher, all the hardcore legends faced Shay's mom at one point. So you definitely want to give back that silver platter. Isn't that right, Shay?
And they're all scared of her, so what's that
They
tell you?
are. They are scared of her. There should be Netflix documentaries made of this woman.
Dark side of the ring.
Oh my god.
You never know.
Jesus. Yeah. But like I said, hit us up on social media. We're available all across the board. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Ringside Rundown. Follow us on one of those platforms and you can DM us if you need us to give you a link to the podcast. You can also check out me. I do live streaming every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. We do things like watch Raw, Dynamite, Collision, NXT, all the shows we watch. So please come along, have some fun. We're on Twitch, twitch.tv/ringside rundown. And I also started doing some live streaming, multi-streaming on TikTok. So you can follow along on TikTok at ringside_rundown. Shay, where can they get in touch with you?
You can find me on Twitter at ShayleneHickson21. A couple weeks I'll be seeing Halsey, so that's probably all I'm going to be talking about, to be completely honest. But we'll save those pictures for after that episode, whenever that one airs in a couple weeks. But yeah, go follow me, go follow Erik. He's definitely doing a lot of good work. Definitely can't say enough. You definitely are doing all the hard work. I'm just helping out.
Well, on behalf of myself and everybody involved in our little crew of merry listeners and contributors to the podcast, want to wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you.
You're getting old. The back pain and the memory loss is coming.
I mean, we thought it was. You made funny how you made that joke to me when I couldn't remember the stipulation, and then you didn't even remember your own stipulations. So
See, you see what I mean? But I'm living proof.
Yeah,
I am
see?
living proof that it is coming. It is happening.
Too
You can't
much.
avoid it.
I'd like to, but I'm clearly not going to be able to.
You can't avoid it.
I'll do my
Well,
best.
ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, we'll have predictions for Money in the Bank, and Shay will be 1 year older and wiser.
29.
All right. So come stick around, subscribe, follow the Ringside Rundown podcast. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you on the next one, guys. Take care.
See you later, guys.